Good evening, everybody. We are back. The Safety in the Sportswriter show with Knoxville Nate and Big Joe here on a Thursday night, the 5th of August. Getting ready to talk to you about the world of sports. A lot of movement in the NBA. We got the opening of, thank God, NFL season coming back here tonight. It is only preseason, so it's nothing to get really excited about. But it is the Hall of Fame and stuff like that. But it is going to be Pittsburgh. It is going to be Dallas. And camps are in full. I love the fact, Nate, we're getting a lot of talking about some fights in camp. So maybe it's not all walkthroughs like COVID last year.
Yeah, man. I mean, I like hearing about some scraps. Maybe not about my franchise quarterback being at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, that was a little dangerous.
Yeah, that might not be good for little Daniel Jones because that could be the end of him real quick. He's kind of a skinnier type fella. So you don't want him at the bottom. But I do like the Giants showing some life. I mean, Let's get fired up. Let's beat somebody's ass. I mean, right now these offenses and defensive linemen are going against each other every day. They're seeing the same people banging up against each other, and that's going to happen. They're gonna get a little pissed off. It's kind of hot outside, and usually there's some scraps going on. So I like it. It shows me that they care.
That was always the worst part, I took care of everybody says playing football. A hot summer day or early fall in the 80-degree temperature, and all of a sudden, everybody's on top of you and you're in the bottom of the pile and you can hardly breathe. And you just want to get everybody off you, so you start swinging and pushing, and then somebody's swinging and pushing back, and it all turns into a free-for-all. But that's part of football. One thing I loved hearing about out of Giant Camp was the fact that Joe Judge has embraced going to Tom Coughlin and Bill Parcells to be, I don't know about sounding board about specific stuff that goes on within his team, more or less about being part of the Giant family, part of the Giant, how to deal with the media, things like that. I think it's smart. I think, he showed in his first year that he pretty much has a good handle on it. And it sounded like all this came from Belichick, who told him to go use these guys as kind of a sounding board, and Belichick's 100% behind him. So hopefully his next year or this year becomes even better than last year. And a lot's going to depend on Daniel Jones and his health and his ability to go about growing up. But we're going to start tonight. I think we'll start a little bit with the NBA. One thing I got to say I love about the NBA, they don't waste time.
No.
I mean, it's 2 weeks. It's over. They're already signing. These guys are not wasting time. They're not waiting their summer vacations and figuring it out, waiting for to see who everybody else gets. They're all making their time, and they're moving on. A lot of controversy because the Lakers have made a lot of big pickups. The Knicks, looks like they got Kemba Walker coming to town. But I'll tell you, the biggest one that strikes to me before we get into the Knicks, before we get into the Lakers, Andre Drummond going to Philly. I love that move.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I was kind of confused by it because, I mean, he's had some previous drama with Joel Embiid where they've pretty much told each other that they hate each other, and they've been involved in some, basketball fights out on the court, and then they play the same position. So, I mean, are you going to start both these guys at the same time? I don't think so. So
no,
Drummond's now his backup. I mean, I'm just kind of confused by that.
Well, I think it's a good thing. I don't see the Twin Towers thing going, because that hardly ever works, if it ever works. But I think that he can be a good backup for.
No, I loved Andre Drummond. I'm with you. I love Andre Drummond. He's one of my favorite players. I've always liked his game, and he's kind of old school, so I like him. But I really do like the depth of the Sixers team now, because they've got, even if Ben Simmons doesn't come back with the vengeance. They've got Tyrese Maxey, they've got Shake Milton, and they've got Frank Mason. So they've got 4 point guards if it doesn't work out. And then at shooting guard, they've got Seth Curry, who was kind of last year's starter, but they also drafted Jaden Springer out of Tennessee, who was a first-round draft pick, and they've got Maxey, who can play the 2. And then they re-signed Danny Green, and they've still got Matisse Thybulle, who's been tearing it up, by the way, over in the Olympics, and he's available. And then they also have Tobias Harris, Mike Scott, Andre Drummond, and Joel Embiid, at their disposal. So I like where the Sixers are at, and I do believe they got better.
I believe so too. And like I said, I like Drummond because, as I said, if you want to do a little twin tower action in the middle of a game, fine. He takes some pressure off of Embiid. You can put Embiid on the bench for a little bit more. Maybe they thought Embiid lost it in the middle of the playoffs. Maybe they thought, that they were putting too much on him. Maybe they wanted to get him some help, give him, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, having that kind of a center on your bench to back up your MVP type center, I love.
Well, yeah, and you can continue to run the same offense when Embiid goes off the floor. Now Drummond comes in, and you can continue running the same sets that were working. Whereas in the past, last year when he came out, they kind of had to go away from that, and I thought that was kind of sometimes where they fell apart. But they kind of replaced Dwight Howard with Drummond, so I don't think they'll really miss him, to be honest.
No, younger and right now better.
Yeah.
Then we got the Lakers. It had to happen before they both retire. Carmelo and LeBron playing together. This is something that they've been talking about for 20 years, playing on the same team, and I think that Carmelo realizes this is his last best chance of getting a ring. And he fits in there good. I mean, if he gets him 17 points in 15 minutes or whatever, he won't have to do much. He's just going to be the scoring solution off the bench. He's not going to have to worry about defense. He's not going to be. So finally, they're playing to his skill set. Westbrook's going to be there, but the Lakers people are saying they're loading up, and LeBron. Well, LeBron, he's been the de facto GM everywhere he's been for how long now?
For a while.
Yeah.
I mean, he put that Heat team together, and then he put that Cavs team together that won the title. And I got to be honest, I know some people have been critical. I'm pretty happy with what they've done. I mean, I truly believe they got better. They got rid of Kuzma. They got rid of some of the guys that fizzled out last year and didn't help them when their weaknesses were exposed when AD and LeBron went out. And they replaced them with guys that are proven. I know some of them are a little bit older, but these are guys that are winners. I mean, Russell Westbrook, he's Russell Westbrook. We know who he is. We don't have to talk about him. He's going to be the same guy. He can get I really think he's going to be driven to win. So he's going to be a team first guy, in my opinion. They got Trevor Ariza, who was also in that same class and played, in high school against LeBron. He's still got a little bit left in the tank. And then they got, Melo, obviously. They picked up Kendrick Nunn. They picked up Wayne Ellington. My favorite move of theirs was that they kept, Horton Tucker. And, he really showed me something last year. So I like that. They kept Ben McLemore. They kept Wesley Matthews. They got Melo. They got Kent Bazemore. They've really turned this roster over, and I think for the better. They got guys that can shoot now and open up the middle for Anthony Davis and LeBron to do their work. And they got guys that are a lot better than their role guys that they had last year. My favorite move that they made, and I know this is probably not a real popular opinion, but it's my opinion. They got Malik Monk. And Malik Monk is a guy that I saw play up close and personal when he was at Kentucky. There's nothing this guy cannot do offensively. And why he didn't get more playing time in Charlotte, I don't know. I think there were a lot of factors. But if this guy can get on the court for the Lakers, look out. This guy will have single coverage and definitely not the best defender on the other team guarding him. And this guy can light it up. when he's hot. And I expect him to play a big role for the Lakers once he gets going. I really like this kid. I've expected more of him, and I know he served that suspension, which took him out of a lot of last season. But I expected him to come back fired up, and I think that was a huge move. I think he's a real sleeper for next year.
We were talking the other night about Lonzo Ball in Chicago, and they go out and get DeRozan, which I think is 2 years, 3 years too late for DeRozan. I don't know what that does for Chicago. I mean, he's basically an older Zach LaVine. So I don't know how it helps him. I don't know. What do you see in it?
I mean, he's an upgrade over what they had. Now, that's kind of sad, but it's true. And my question is,
he sucks, but he's an upgrade.
Well, he's washed up, but he's better than what they had. So what does that say about what they had? Not much.
Yeah.
But it's kind of confusing to me because they drafted Kobe White out of North Carolina, and I guess he's been injured, and I guess he's kind of been a disappointment because that Lonzo's projected to be their starter, and I don't know what's up with his injury or whether they just have decided to go away from him. But let's look at their starting five now. It's going to be Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and either Markkanen or Patrick Williams at the power forward, and then Vucevic at the center. So their starting five next year is a lot better than their starting five last year. Now, are they top five in the East? No, but I could see them fighting for a 7th or 8th playoff spot with this guy if some of these other dudes show up like Amari Spellman and Denzel Valentine, who will be on their bench.
One guy who I've always been a fan of, I'm glad someone picked him up. I'm sorry he got picked up by these guys, Spencer Dinwiddie. I mean, he'll be a nice running mate for Beal, but I don't see the Wizards going anywhere with this. What do you think?
No, I like him, but I'm not sure what they're doing with this roster. I mean, it seemed like the East was already pretty deep, and then they got better. And now you're looking at Spencer Dinwiddie, you're looking at Bradley Beal, Kyle Kuzma, Hachimura, and either Bryant or Gafford at the center. But they do have a little bit of bench help now with Aaron Holiday, Corey Kispert, who they drafted. They got Montrezl Harrell, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I look as the Wizards, right around where the Bulls are now, to be honest with you. If they can, fight and get into the playoffs, in a 7th or 8th spot, I think they'd be doing pretty good with this roster.
Beal's going to have to be a super guy again. The Knicks pick up Fournier. They re-sign Noel. And they, like I said, now they got can't think of his name anymore.
Kemba Walker
coming to town. Plus, they're going to have Derrick Rose back there.
Yeah.
And they extended their big man to a 4-year contract. So, I mean, if the Knicks, the question marks going to be the Knicks are Kemba's going to help him. If he's Kemba, not Kemba last year, injury prone all year long. Fournier, I've always liked his game as an outside shooter, as a scorer. We'll see what he does in New York City. He's going to be a guy coming. He's going to be in the rotation. He doesn't have to do that much. Question's going to be about the coach, I think. He came to town. He made an instant impact. They did not give him any real substantial upgrades. So it's going to be about his coaching. And it's known in the past that his coaching wears on people the next year because he uses them a lot, not a lot of night off, a lot of pressure. So what do you think about the Knicks with the move they made so far?
I think they're better. They didn't get a superstar necessarily, but Kemba Walker has been a very, very good player in this league. It all is going to come down to health, in my opinion, with Kemba. What's his knee looking like? What's his body like? What's his gas tank looking like? But I think with the Knicks' ability to rotate Kemba Walker, Derrick Rose, and Emmanuel Quickley at the 1, and Derek plays a lot of 2 also, but being able to rotate Walker and quickly and also throw in Alfred Payton, they've got enough flexibility where, they don't have to play Kemba every night. So that's good. I like Fournier, working with Derrick Rose at the 2. Both those guys can kind of be interchangeable. They also drafted Quentin Grimes. And then they've got R.J. Barrett, Alec Burks, Julius Randle, obviously, Obi Toppin, Mitchell Robinson's going to be coming back. He missed almost the entire season last year. So it'd be nice to see what he can do if he's back healthy. And then Noel. And then they re-signed Taj Gibson for his 29th year in the NBA.
Yeah, that was the one I was like, huh?
Why? I don't know. Somebody in the Knicks organization loves that guy. It's not me, but somebody does. But I think they got better. Are they a top 5 team? I think they can be. I think they were last year. I mean, they finished like 4th, I believe, and I believe everyone thought they were overachieving, but they did get better overall, in my opinion, as a team. And maybe they can get to the second round now, but that's probably about it.
Well, here's one that stuck out at me too. Kelly Olynyk went into the NBA Witness Protection Program in Detroit. We won't hear from him for a long, long time, if at all, ever again.
Yeah, it's almost like going to the Kings. It's like ending your career, essentially. You're still getting paid and you're still playing basketball, but nobody knows about it. It's like if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there, does it really fall? But, kind of a weird move that I really liked, which is kind of a rich get richer kind of move. The Brooklyn Nets signed Patty Mills away from the San Antonio Spurs. And obviously Mills has been a big time component of that San Antonio team for a while. And he's been tearing it up over at the Olympics for Australia too. So I like that move, even though I hate the Nets. I like that move for them because I do believe that strengthens their backcourt and, takes a little bit of the pressure off of Kyrie and James Harden. So I like that move and I like that pickup for Brooklyn.
I liked Rudy Gay getting picked up by Utah.
Yeah.
I think that's another guy. He can fill like a Carmelo role there if he gets you, 15 points in 20 minutes or 15 points in 15 minutes. He knows what he is right now. He's a professional offensive player, going to a real good team.
Yeah, and I think that the Heat definitely improved themselves. I think going out and getting Kyle Lowry is big for them. They needed a floor general. They re-signed Duncan Robinson. They gave Jimmy Butler a max contract. And then quietly they signed PJ Tucker, who was on the world champion Bucks, and also Markieff Morris. So I like both those guys. They need Goran Dragic to come back and help them a little bit. And they need Oladipo to be healthy, which, who knows about that one. He seemed to struggle ever since that big time injury in Indiana. He struggled to stay healthy.
Well, and, Reggie Bullock signed with Dallas, and not that he's going to make any kind of a difference down there, but when you're looking at Luka, I mean, they're not sending him getting any help that I see down in Dallas. I mean, he actually, his team's getting worse as he gets older.
I agree. I don't like any of the moves they made. And as a matter of fact, they didn't really make any. They didn't get anybody in the draft. They didn't really sign any big time free agents. They proved last year that they just didn't have enough to get over the hump. And then they signed Reggie Bullock and JJ Redick. So yeah, I don't know what they're doing, but they're not helping out Luka very much, and I think they're a team that's going to go the other direction, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they chased their coach out of town just as well. So I don't know.
That's the other thing is they had one of the best coaches in the league, who's now gone. So Good luck with that.
Yeah. Anything else that struck out at you?
We all want to talk a little bit about the Celtics. They got rid of Kemba. They made the coaching change. So, it's kind of confusing to me as to what they're doing. I'm not real sure, what their overall goal is right now. Their starting lineup's kind of looking like this. Marcus Smart, Josh Richardson, who I like, but I'm not sure he's an upgrade at the 2. And then Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Robert Williams, and then they've got Al Horford, who's 45, and Grant Williams, Jabari Parker, Romeo Langford. That's kind of their bench, and Enes Kanter. So I don't know, man. I definitely don't really think that this Celtics team got better, but they do have 2 superstars, and if Brown and Tatum can stay healthy, they'll still be a team that can win some games.
Well, we'll see. Any free agents you see out there you're interested in that may show up somewhere? They're unsigned right now.
There's a couple guys that I'm looking at, but to be honest, I think most of the moves that like you said, it went kind of quickly. As soon as that free agent started, that's kind of what happened. I mean, the big names moved pretty quickly. The guys that teams wanted to sign to long-term deals. Chris Paul signed back with the Suns, even though I don't know if you heard this, but apparently there was a report that the Pelicans offered him like 3 years, $100-something million, and he turned it down. So that's probably my biggest thing is the Pelicans. I mean, what are they doing? They didn't get better. They really didn't get any help for Zion. And it's like, we've talked about this over and over again. Are they just setting him up to leave like they do with all their other superstars? Chris Paul, Anthony Davis, pretty much every superstar they've had is had to leave because they want to win. And it's like, don't you want them to win here instead of go somewhere else? I mean, I'm not sure that I'm loving this team. They picked up Devontae Graham, but they've got pretty much the same roster except for Alexander Walker's going to start at point guard, and Jonas Valanciunas is going to be their center. So there's a couple different names there, but are they that much better? Not my opinion.
No, they didn't make anything move. I mean, that's the whole thing. Is the guys who the one thing is you love him or hate him, or get mad at him with LeBron is he doesn't sit pat, or his teams don't sit pat. He makes sure his GM knows that, he's there to win and you better get some players around him. And and I'd be the same way if I was LeBron and had that much, gravitas. So, I mean,
how many years is LeBron going to keep playing? I mean, like we said, he doesn't need the money. He's been, rolling in the NBA since he was 19 years old. So there's a lot, he played in 3 or 4 Olympics. So he's got all those miles. He's gone to 12 finals, 11 or 12 finals. So he's played like a couple of extra seasons on top of the 18 years that he's been in the league. So, the time to win for them is now. And I think they, like you said, they addressed it. They went out and got another superstar in Russell Westbrook. He's been an MVP in this league. Is he the same guy as he was when he was the MVP? Maybe not, but he's pretty damn close. And then Melo played pretty well last year. And, they've got more shooters. The biggest thing they lacked last year was they didn't have enough shooters. They had, some scrappy players like Caruso and company, but they didn't have anybody that could hit any shots outside. And they've got those guys now. So if those guys can do their job, the Lakers can get back to
imagine if at some point during the game you got Davis, you got Ariza, you got Melo, you got Westbrook, and you got LeBron on the court at the same time.
Yeah. And then
not a bad little five-some up there.
Right. And then you got Ariza, and you got Monk, and you got Ellington, and you got Nunn, Kendrick Nunn, all those guys to come in off the bench and spell those guys. So, and you got Dwight Howard to come in and do the dirty work. I like this roster a lot more than I did last year.
All right. Well, one thing, let's get over to the NFL right now. Like we said, Steelers Cowboys tonight, but somebody who retired last year, and now the rumors are flying in Denver and Indianapolis about Phillip Rivers shaking the rust off and getting to camp and maybe coming back, and he's not putting a lot of water on the fire. I don't know what you've heard. It kind of makes sense for me to go to Indy with the fact that, as we spoke on length on Tuesday, Carson Wentz, I mean, I don't care if he comes back in 5 weeks or 12 weeks. You don't know what you're going to get with him already. He's an injury problem. You don't have anybody behind him. So Philip Rivers knows that system, knows the coach, knows everything that has to be done with that team. He could step right in there and just go.
That's all true, but when's he going to come back, and how much are they going to pay him? Those are my questions, because they're already paying Wentz pretty decent money because they inherited that ridiculous contract that he brought with him from Philadelphia. So, I mean, can they have another $20 million guy on the roster? I don't know. I mean, I really don't think so. And, he doesn't want to come to camp, obviously. I don't blame him. He's played for 20 years, so I don't think he really needs to do that. But, when does he want to come back? He's coaching high school football right now, and their season ends at the end of October. Do you want to bring him back after that? I don't know. Maybe if the season is, kind of teetering on quarterback play and you think you might have a run into the playoffs, then you do it and you pay whatever it costs. But I don't know. I think the smarter move is to go out and get somebody. I think they need to get another veteran. I think Nick Foles is I know Carson Wentz doesn't want to see that guy, but I think that's the best move to make. I think either the Jets or the Colts need to sign Nick Foles immediately, because one of those two teams is going to end up doing it. And the one that doesn't do it is going to miss out, because the Jets have nobody backing up their draft pick, and the Eagles are already seeing how fragile Carson Wentz and the Glass Menagerie is.
Well, I think the Colts makes the biggest sense there, because the fact of the matter is the Jets, whether their rookie stays healthy or they put anybody behind that team is not going to go anywhere this year.
True. No, I think that the best move for Foles is to go to Indy. I think that's where he wants to go, and I think that's the best place for him. But I'm just saying, there's other teams that'll pick this guy up if the Colts don't do it soon.
All right, now we got the Hall of Fame tonight, and of course we talk about the people that are going in or people that didn't go in last year that we're supposed to. So you got the list. Let's start going over who is going to be inducted and get their yellow jacket tonight.
Yeah, well, last year, obviously with COVID and the Rona, we didn't get to do the Hall of Fame ceremony, which in my opinion was a travesty, because that's one of my favorite moments of the year is seeing these guys that worked their whole life to get to that moment. And that's obviously the Centennial class. So they had the modern era players that went in. They brought in, I believe, either one or two contributors, and then they have the kind of Centennial team, which is a group of older players, and then they brought in two coaches. So the modern era players, will run through the list real quick, and then we can kind of hit on whichever guys you want to talk about. First is Steve Atwater, who is one of my favorite players.
Great safety.
Oh my gosh. He was a ball hawking, knock your ass on the ground safety for the Denver Broncos back when John Elway first came into the league. And that was a defense that was to be reckoned with. I don't know if you remember Carl Mecklenburg and those dudes. And
Louis Wright. And Louis Wright, his name never comes up. He was a cornerback, Louis Wright. And that's because no one ever threw against him. He might have been as good as shutdown corner. I mean, I'm not going to put him in the Dion bracket, but I would put him up there with Lester Hayes, Mike Haynes. He was that kind of a guy that, the guy, I think Steve Fuller was on the other side, and that boy got all the passes went his way because no one threw the Louis Wright side of the field. But yeah, Steve Atwater. And the other one I think I remember about Steve Atwater when the Nigerian Nightmare came into the league, Christian Okoye. And the first few weeks, everybody's like, no one can stop. He would try to go up the middle on Denver, and Atwater sent him back 3 yards.
Yeah, I remember that. I actually remember that. And, this was back when you really, you thought twice about going over the middle. And when you were playing Denver, you definitely thought twice about going over the middle because he'd light you up. And I was happy to see him go in because I think he deserves it. Had a long career playing safety for Denver. We're going in alphabetical order here. So number 2 would be Isaac Bruce, sweet receiver for the
Rams.
St. Louis Rams. Part of that package with Torrey Holt and Kurt Warner and Trent Green and Mark Bolger after that. Just a very long career in the NFL catching passes, and I think well deserved to go in. I don't know what you think about him.
Well, yeah, he was easily one of the top receivers of his generation. I mean, unfortunately, receivers, it's hard, because there's a lot of great receivers that have not gotten in yet. Otis Taylor is one of my favorites from the late 60s, early 70s. And if you ever saw him play, you would say he belonged. But the people who look at the stats of today go, well, he only cost like 40 passes a year. But back then, that was big. But, yeah, I mean, Isaac Bruce was a dangerous receiver, big game receiver. He broke the Giant back a few times. So, yeah, I respect the hell out of the guy.
Yeah, let me tell you just a little bit. I was looking back through, his stats because he had some huge years. And I was looking back, 1995, his second year in the league, which, he barely played as a rookie. I think he didn't start one game. And I think he only played in like 11 or 12 games. He had 21 catches for 272 yards as a rookie. But his second season, he had 119 catches for 1,781 yards and 13 touchdowns. That's a freaking career for some people. And he just kept on humming throughout, ended up with over 15,000 yards receiving and nearly 100 touchdowns. So he actually had over 100 touchdowns combined with rushing. So pretty amazing stats.
And the other thing that you got to take into effect about him, too, is the fact that he played with a lot of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these guys have one, maybe two quarterbacks thrown to them throughout their career. Some continuity, the way they know how each other works and everything is easy, but he had to usually once every 2 or 3 years, he had to get ready for a new quarterback, if not every year. So.
Yeah, no, pretty impressive. And then, next up is a guy that I saw his, entire career, and that's offensive lineman Steve Hutchinson, guy that, he dominated. I remember watching him for the Seahawks as well as the Vikings, and it didn't really matter which team of the two he was playing for. This guy was a mauler. He's one of the best offensive linemen that played during my, when I was a kid. And, I even remember him going back to that in college, that team up north, which I shall not name. I have to give him credit. He was even good in college, even for that piece of crap program.
I'm not going to argue with you about that. Go ahead. Who's our next guy?
Next is the Edge, Edgerrin Tyree James. Wow. I mean, everyone, thought that the management for the Colts were crazy when they traded away Marshall Faulk, but along came Edgerrin James, and as a rookie, he carried the ball 369 times for over 1,500 yards and 13 touchdowns, and they were like, "Whoa, this guy is pretty damn impressive." So what does he do? He comes back his second season and runs it for 387 times for 1,700 yards. And this is a dude that could catch the ball too.
Yeah.
He had over 500 yards, 580 yards in both those seasons receiving. So he finished up with over 12,000 yards rushing and over almost 4,000 yards receiving in his Hall of Fame career, and was a really good running back for a long time, and topped 1,000 yards almost, I think 9 times. That's pretty impressive.
And when you think about that team, man, if they could ever get a consistent defense out of that Indianapolis Colts team, Peyton Manning, Edgerrin James, there wasn't much they didn't have on offense.
Yeah, no, Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, Dallas Clark. They had a bunch of really good tight ends, and then they had a lot of good slot receivers that kind of came and went. Anthony Gonzalez for a while, a bunch of different guys that kind of rotated in there. But yeah, when they always had really good teams. I mean, the winningest team of that era was the Colts. They just, for some reason couldn't get over the hump and win win the big Super Bowls, but they were going up against Belichick at that time, and a lot of the Super Bowls went that way. But they did have some good defenses, like when they had Rashawn Mathis and Dwight Freeney and Bob Sanders, and they had some dudes, and it just was a shame they didn't end up winning more Super Bowls because they had the talent to do it.
Do you think it was the dome effect?
I don't know. I can't really explain it. They just didn't get, football's a game of bounces, and the bounces just didn't go their way at times. I think, they did a lot of times win 12 games, and then, their philosophy was to sit their guys, once they locked up their division, and they did it a lot. And a lot of times it came back to get them. They would end up, having a bye, or sit their guys week 17 or 16, whatever you want to call it, and then ended up losing in the first or second round of the playoffs. And that'll be second guessed forever, but to be honest, I can't really tell you why they didn't win more. They definitely won 12 games like 10 times during that Peyton Manning era, and I'm just going to blame it on Peyton because I was not really a fan of his, so I'm blaming him.
Like came from another one of your great universities.
Yeah.
All right. So who's next?
Last on the 2020 modern era players is Troy Polamalu. Who, dude, that guy was pretty amazing for the Steelers for a long time. I mean, you always knew who he was because he had that hair coming out the back of his helmet down to his butt. But he knew how to play the game of football. I kind of equate him. I know he wasn't a linebacker, but he kind of was a linebacker at times.
He was a hybrid.
He reminded me of Zach Thomas, just with his instincts. He knew where the ball was going. Maybe wasn't the fastest guy in the world, but he knew he could read where the ball was going to be, and always seemed to be there.
You know what he reminds you of, and this is the great thing that comes out of great coaches' mouths is, Belichick says a lot. Don't tell me what he can't do. Tell me what he can do, and I'll find a way to use him. And that's what Pittsburgh did. They didn't use him as just a safety, or I don't want to say just a safety. They hybrided him. They moved him around. They put him up close to the line. They allowed him, in the different packages to do different things, and he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, he finished with over almost 800 tackles, 56 tackles for loss. This is a guy that, even had 12 sacks in his career. He had a couple touchdowns, fumbles, 14 forced fumbles. I mean, he had Hall of Fame numbers, and ended up with 32 interceptions throughout his career. So, I think well-deserved, and was a mainstay of that Steelers defense for, 11 seasons. So Pretty impressive.
Well, he's got 2 rings, right?
I
think he has 2 rings.
I think so. At least one. I know at least one. Yeah, two-time Super Bowl champ.
All right. Who's our older guys?
They had the Centennial team, so there's a big group. So I'm gonna go and read this list off. We won't name all these guys, or we won't go into it real deep with all these guys. But the Centennial inductees are Harold Carmichael from the Eagles, Jim Covert from the Bears, Bobby Dillon from the Packers, Cliff Harris from the Cowboys, Alex Karras from the Lions, Winston Hill, and from the Jets and Rams, and then Donnie Shell, another guy from the Steelers.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not a big Carmichael believer. I mean, he was 6'7". He was just bigger than everybody, but he did do his job. It won't take away. I don't believe he belongs in there ahead of Otis Taylor. Otis Taylor was a better receiver. I'll argue that one up and down with anybody because, Otis Taylor was a big guy too, but, Otis Taylor was one of the dominant receivers of the 60s and 70s. Harold Carmichael was a big guy, basketball player.
Yeah, and some of those guys kind of predated me, so all I really know is kind of what I read. But the things, the two guys that really intrigued me off of this centennial list are the two coaches, and that's Jimmy Johnson and also Bill Cowher. Jimmy Johnson, obviously, he won 2 Super Bowls with the Cowboys. He'd won national championships at Miami. He finished his career with 80 wins and 64 losses after, getting into a big fight with Jimmy Johnson. I still don't think I've heard the entire story of that, but actually, he's come out and admitted. Jerry Jones has that was a mistake getting rid of Jimmy Johnson. He finally did after all these years, but he had to go and kind of rebuild that Dolphins team, and so that's kind of where his wins-loss record kind of took a hit.
Also his first year. His first year, I think he was 1-15.
Yeah, so, that too. Well, he had to rebuild that's what I'm saying. He had to rebuild the Cowboys, which they did with that '89 draft when they brought in Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith and all those guys, but they went 1-15 and then immediately went 7-9. So you could see the Jimmy Johnson effect. And then they went 11-5, 13-3, 12-4, won 2 Super Bowls, and then people forget they won the Super Bowl the year after that. So Jimmy wasn't there anymore, but that was Jimmy's team, in my opinion. Even though he wasn't the coach, but I don't know. I think he probably deserves to be a Hall of Famer just because he did a lot of good things and was a head coach in the league for 9 years, but he did a lot of his damage in college, and but he did win 2 Super Bowls. The guy that I'm not sure about, I guess Bill Cowher was a coach in Pittsburgh for a long time, but just had the 1 Super Bowl. I mean, he did get over the hump, and they did win the Super Bowl that one time. But overall record of 149-90. What do you think about Bill Cowher?
Well, first of all, I want to talk about Jimmy Johnson. Talking to me about Jimmy Johnson now is better than talking to me 10 years ago because I hated the guy. I just didn't like him in Miami. The thing about Jimmy Johnson, I think, is what you have to look at him as the total package as a coach. So I think he was a great X's and O's guy? No. But I think he was a great talent evaluator. And I think when he made trades and his drafts were impeccable, and I think that the Herschel Walker trade really helped him a lot. He also put together very good coaching staffs. Norv Turner, he Butch Davis. I mean, a lot of guys came off his staff and became head coaches of varying success, but they were good enough to get head coaching jobs. So I mean, I think he was great at that. But you got to know that as everybody says, that Dallas team he had with all that talent, all that depth, would be so hard to duplicate today, and with the salary cap and everything. But you got to give the devil his dues. Now, why I said that is, if you look at the fact that Bill Cowher took over Pittsburgh at a downtime after their first great team under Chuck Noll, he put them right back on the map. And almost every year, people were cherry picking his best players and taking them to different cities. I remember we had Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green as his bookend linebackers, and 2 years later or 3 years later, they're both gone. And he continually kept them competitive. And I don't know if he was a great X's and O's guy, as I know he put together another guy who put together a great coaching staff of veteran coaches, but he knew how to inspire his players, and he set the tone for Mike Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin's just taking it a little bit more. So I think Bill Cowher belongs in the Hall of Fame, yes. I think both of them do.
Okay. He was, now that I look back, I mean, he was a great coach for 15 years. I guess I didn't realize he was there that long, but, just the just the one Super Bowl appearance. I think he was in two Super
Two.
Bowls.
He lost
They
to
only
Dallas.
won one.
To Barry
Yeah.
Switzer.
Yeah, they were so basically two AFC championships and one Super Bowl. But
And he
15
lost a
years.
bunch of. He lost, I think, 3 or 4 AFC championships. I think he lost 2 to Elway, in the AFC championship as well.
Yeah. But, I can see it. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe Jimmy Johnson is also in the College Football Hall of Fame, is he not?
Yeah, he is.
I think he is, because if he finished his college coaching career at 81-34 at Miami, his overall record was 52-9. With a couple of national championships mixed in there. So this guy could definitely coach, whether you like Jimmy or not. Jimmy won. He won ball games. And I remember that when I watched him as the coach at Miami. Hell, he won games at Oklahoma State when he was there, even when they had a terrible program. So got to give Jimmy his due. But
I don't not give it. The thing I about Jimmy is I feel about him, or I feel about those Miami teams being a Notre Dame fan, the way you feel about Michigan. To me, they were the ultimate outlaws. They, and they kicked for years. The Notre Dame used to kick their butts, and then when the table turned, they paid it back in spades. And it was, if you're a Notre Dame fan, it's hard, the thing is that Jimmy Johnson understood that beating Notre Dame was a big thing for Miami, because at the time they were independent, they weren't in a conference, they needed to get noticed, and Notre Dame carried still, even in the Jerry Faust era when they weren't that good, they carried a reputation, and that was good enough for getting a bunch of points when it came to bowl time. So, but I mean, don't ever ask me to. Who
was in it? You're talking about Notre Dame not being in a conference?
No, in Miami at the time.
Oh, they were in the Big East.
Were they with Jimmy Johnson
for a while? For part.
Yeah, I know they were in a while. But I'm talking like the 84 through 90. I don't think they were in the Big East yet.
They were in the Big East for some of the time he was the coach, I know. But 84, I was 4 years old, so I'm not sure about that one. Moving on to 2021, the one dude we did forget was NFL Films. Steve Sable as a belongs there. Long deserved.
John Facenda.
Love that guy. But the 2021 class, which I think, honestly, looking at it as a whole, is a pretty amazing class, to be honest with you. First one is Alan Faneca, which had an amazing career. He was on a lot of those Bill Cowher teams. One of the best guards that I ever saw as far as a pulling guard. We talk about Steelers not being able to run the football last year. They could run the football every damn year that Alan Faneca was on the line. And he took that right to the Jets when he played for the Jets. I mean, Sean Green, Thomas Jones, didn't matter who it was behind him. They ran for 1,000 yards because Faneca was putting people on their back. I loved Alan Faneca.
About to say that when you have an offensive lineman that can go to another team and straighten another team's offensive line out, you've got a special player.
Yeah, when a guard can go in and turn an offensive line around. I mean, especially when they put him next to Nick Mangold, and those two guys, they solidified the center of that line for the Jets for a long time. And it's very impressive. And he's a cool guy, too. I like him. But number 2 on the 2021 team is Megatron, Calvin Johnson, wide receiver from the Lions. And this is a guy that, 6-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first-team All-Pro, had that one season in 2012 where he had 122 catches, 1,964 yards. So pretty big time season, but he only had 5 touchdowns that year because they were horrible and didn't get in the end zone much. But unbelievable player. But, one of those guys just kind of like Barry Sanders, who cut his career off at 30. He just quit and got to wonder if all that losing finally got to him.
I would not have doubted it. And I mean, a testament to his greatness. He was on the cover of Madden playing for Detroit. I mean, Barry might have been the only other person to do that. I mean, he's coming out of Georgia Tech. I mean, he could do everything at the wide receiver spot. I mean, he could outleap you, he could outrun you. Great hands, great everything. And like you said, too bad he was always on the backup game around here. We didn't get to see him unless he played against the Jets or the Giants, or if he was on or Thanksgiving Day. That was it.
Yeah. Luckily, I lived in Columbus for a lot of the time that he was with the Lions, and got to go and see him play live up in Detroit. So that was pretty cool. Next guy is a dude that I saw throughout pretty much the entirety of his career, and that is a guy that had to earn his way onto the field in John Lynch. First year he played very sparingly as a rookie. His second year played even less. He had some injuries. He didn't start any games. I think he had like 11 tackles for the entire season. His third year, he started only 6 games. But after that, he became a mainstay of the Tampa Bay defense, and he just kind of personified what it was to be a safety, in my opinion. And unbelievable. Led him to a Super Bowl, 9-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro. John Lynch, was proven to be a really good executive too. But man, he was a badass playing safety.
He was a great player. He bugged me. when they did that, the Super Bowl, and he was mic'd up, he just bugged me. I don't know what it was about him. Just listen to his voice chattering all day long. Then he was playing with the flag later. I mean, I respect the hell out of the guy, but he bugged me. I'm not gonna say he doesn't belong in camp. He just fucking bugs me.
Hey, no, you're allowed to like and dislike whoever you want, but that guy deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He had over 1,000 tackles in his career, and like I said, he didn't even really play that much at all his first 3 years. So you're talking about a dude that put about 100 tackles a year in for 10 straight years. So I like him. Next guy, not my favorite guy in the world, but definitely probably deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and that's Archie's son. What's his name? Peyton. Oh, Peyton. My bad. Yeah, Peyton Manning. Lots of people around here like him, but not my favorite player. But definitely was a student of the game, and won a lot more than he lost. Playing quarterback, but had difficulties winning the big game.
I mean, I like Peyton. I like his personality. I think he brings a lot to the table. And he was the cerebral quarterback who, I think he did it the right way. I mean, was I a big fan of the Colts? Did I sit there and get all jumping up and down to watch Peyton do his thing? No. Sometimes he drove me crazy with all his antics. It was like, snap the ball already, would you? But, I mean, it's hard to he was the best quarterback almost every year when he was in the NFL until the injuries got him at the end, and he won that Super Bowl with Denver. But until he went to Denver, until his neck went, every year he was right up there as one of the top 3 quarterbacks in football.
Yeah, but only won 1 Super Bowl with that whole time with the Colts, and kind of lucked out, to be honest.
Yeah, in Chicago and Rex Grossman.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you got to play Rex Grossman in the Super Bowl. That helped him get his ring. But I was saying, to getting that second ring, really gave his career a lot of credibility that it may not have had otherwise. And let's be honest, that ring was captured by the defense.
Yeah, but I mean, that's where we come into. What are you going to say about Dan Marino? I mean, anybody who ever saw Dan Marino play quarterback, maybe the best pure thrower of the ball ever. And when he played Dan Marino, it was must-see TV. I I remember when he took down the 46 defense the year they won the Super Bowl, and everybody said, "Oh, Buddy Ryan's going to make mincemeat out of him." Well, he made Buddy Ryan's defense look stupid. I mean, the guy, the Super Bowl. I know we all go by winning, and it is, but as you guys said, it was said the other night. I mean, it's the ultimate team game by your coach, your old coach, and if the team isn't doing right, what can you do?
No, it's a true story, but I'm just saying, when you're on a team that's as good as the Colts were for that long, it comes down to inches, and it just shocks me. They won 12 games or more, I think 9 times during his tenure, maybe more than that, but at least 9 times, and weren't able to win the big Super Bowl, and it just was confusing to me. We talked about it when we were talking about Edgerrin James, just kind of confusing. But the next guy,
wait before we went. I mean, Brett Favre won Super Bowl,
right? But I mean, the Packers teams he was on didn't win 12 games a year. I mean,
no, but I mean, he was thought of. He's a 3-time MVP. He was thought of, as that Frank Calamandro or whatever makes fun of John Madden. John Madden couldn't
right. And who were his wide receivers? I mean, he never had Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne,
Sterling Sharp,
Sterling Sharp. His career wasn't even that long, but he was when he was there. But I'm just saying, you can't even compare the amount of talent that was on those Colts teams with those Packers teams, and that it kind of confused me why they couldn't win more. But definitely a guy that could win, even though I hate where he went to college, is Chuck Woodson, man. That guy
great player.
Won a national championship at that school, and then also, went on to win a Super Bowl with the Packers, and then also, led the Raiders to a Super Bowl. I mean, this guy could impact the game from defense. And, early on in his career, and even back in college, he played offense too and returned kicks. And, man, there was nothing Chuck couldn't do. And
you know why I'm doing this?
What's that?
You know why I'm doing this? This is how close he was to winning 3 Super Bowls if the Tuck rule didn't come out.
Yeah, no.
And he's the one who forced that fumble.
He's a great guy and one of the best football players I ever saw from an all-around perspective. So gotta love Chuck Woodson. And then as far as contributors go, we had longtime scout and a talent evaluator Bill Nunn, who kind of broke the color barrier there in the scouting world, and was a sports writer actually before that, and a very respected man for what he did, both in football and outside of football as well. And then Tom Flores from the Raiders.
Well deserved. 2 Super Bowl wins. I mean,
yeah, man. I mean, this guy was a great coach and very much beloved by his players, and man, they've been fighting for him to get in for a long time. So him, and then also lastly, Drew Pearson.
Drew Pearson was about as good a clutch receiver as you will find in that generation. I mean, he, outside of the Hail Mary pass, he caught the original Hail Mary pass. He caught a lot of game-saving, game-winning catches from Roger Staubach and Danny White. And the one thing that's funny is everybody remembers Dwight Clark making the catch to win the catch to beat Dallas in that first championship game off Joe Montana. People forget that Drew Pearson was this close to breaking it all the way on a pass over the middle after that catch.
Yeah.
And giving the championship back to Dallas.
Yeah. And a great guy too, man. He's soaking this all in, getting into the Hall of Fame, and he's really excited about it. And that's what I think is really cool is seeing the guys that just, love the game and are so excited to be going into the Hall. So should be pretty cool seeing the induction ceremony. I think they've limited the length of the speeches since there's so many guys going in, and should be kind of cool seeing all these dudes getting inducted at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the thing I love about football is over all the other sports is it's not always stat driven. They do take into effect injury problems. They do take into effect, you can't. How do you judge an offensive lineman? I mean, in every other sport, there's certain stats and goals you have to hit to be thought of to be in the Hall of Fame, whereas football has so many, so many talent without stats that you have to get recognized for. So
Yeah.
it is really a legitimate Hall of Fame.
It definitely is, and I love the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I love what it means to the game. It's not like the Baseball Hall of Fame, which no one cares about anymore, and guys that aren't even worthy to get in. At least all these guys that are on this list deserve the awards that they're being bestowed upon, and unlike the baseball, where these dork sports writers sit around and try and come up with somebody who they can put in, who they like. It's a freaking joke. But final note on the NFL real quick. I don't know if you even saw this happen today, but the Tennessee Titans signed Matt Barkley. And, kind of a move that no one even really talked about and kind of glossed over. But to be honest, he's a huge upgrade over what they had in that quarterback room. And I don't know if you remember a few weeks ago when me and you kind of went through the quarterback
situation. Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of talked about the situations that were worrying me around the league. And the Titans were in the top 3 for me, just because if anything were to happen to Ryan Tannehill, they were in big trouble. And, is Matt Barkley the greatest NFL quarterback of all time? No. Is he a good quarterback in the NFL? Maybe not. But can he come in for 4 or 5 games and win you 3 games? I think he possibly can. And
he showed it in Buffalo did a couple of years ago, didn't he?
Yeah, he came in and played well. And then last year, really had a good relationship with Josh Allen in Buffalo. And those two guys worked hand in hand. And I think, for anything else, he's a guy that provides stability to the backup role. Now, if they can just get a backup running back, they'll be in good shape.
Well, hopefully they won't need a backup running back because I like watching Henry run. So, what do we got coming up this weekend? We got the start of the NFL. We got anything else going on this weekend?
Well, we've got the quest for the gold. The USA basketball team, despite struggling in the in the exhibition round and even losing their opening game against France, is going to get a shot at redemption and get a chance to play France one more time. And now they have Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton and Devin Booker and all the guys they were missing the first time they played. So hopefully the U.S. can come out and win the gold, because a silver would be a disappointment in my opinion.
And the thing about it is Drew Holiday has had a special month because he helped deliver that championship to the Bucks. His value there is you're the one who picked it up totally throughout the playoffs, what he did. And when he came to town, he seems to have stabilized what was kind of leaning toward becoming a mess of a team for USA.
Yeah, he was the guy. He's the guy that's really provided stability at the point guard position. They've been playing Lillard at the 2, and Drew Holiday's been starting every game at the point guard. And against Spain, he came in and had 12 points, had 5 assists in 24 minutes, was 5 of 8 from the floor. He just provided that consistency that he showed for the Bucks and leading them to a championship. Once again, if you recall, was it 12 months ago, I was, I kind of let my opinion be known that I thought the Pelicans were making a mistake letting him walk. And, I still feel that they did. I think what he's done in the winning an NBA championship and now leading Team USA to the gold medal game has proven his value. Maybe old Nate's not wrong about everything.
Well, I don't think you're wrong about much tonight, so that's cool. All right. Well, we're going to say good night to everybody. We'll be back on Monday again. Fresh show. What goes on this weekend? We'll recap the gold medal, or hopefully for the USA, and what we see with football on Monday and start getting you guys ready for college football.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll see the return of my boy
Dwayne Haskins tonight, fellas. He's going to come out and show us something out in the field. He will not be in the Washington Redskins uniform because they cut him. But hopefully he's taking this seriously and he's listening to Mike Tomlin because this is old Dwayne's last chance.
Yeah, hopefully not lining up a limo to take him to the strip joint afterwards.
Hey, yeah. Well, if he wins, go ahead and go. And just wear your mask, Dwayne.
All right, everybody. This is the Safety and the Sportswriter with Knoxville, Nate, and Big Joe. We'll be back on Monday, 7 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in. Nate, have a great weekend.
Are you too?